REID, an American actor, film director, film producer, writer. What a pleasure, what a legacy. It's a pleasure having you with us in Cabo Verde, Open to the World by Ana Barber. Who is Tim REID?
Who is he? Wow, geez, that's a. I haven't figured it out yet. I haven't figured it out, but I can say it in certain words. I'm a dreamer, a father, a storyteller, a defender of my people, the African diaspora, wherever they may be, and I'm a lover of love. I mean, that's kind of the, in a nutshell, who I am.
So good. This for us is, of course, is an honor to have you with us. Your experience, your legacy, what you have. We want also this very natural conversation to listen from you, your experience, share with us the different concept you have, talking about, for example, the family. What is the meaning of family?
Well, family, it means probably many things to many different people. For me, it's a non-traditional meaning because I didn't really, as a youth, I didn't have what you would consider a traditional family structure. I never had a father, mother structure. You know, I was a bastard child. I didn't know who my father was till I was much older. And so I don't know what the traditional family structure never entered my life. So family to me means, I think the word that was it's equal to family is clan. That's clan with a C, not a K. And so clan to me is what family means, and that clan grows as you grow and it expands, and it's a group of people, some blood related, who you've met over your travels, and you support each other, you care about each other, you love each other, you grow together, and that becomes your family, your clan. And I'm fortunate. I've been so blessed. Although I had a very difficult beginning, God has blessed me with a good middle life. And my clan is very large. I have clan members all over the world, and we all support each other, and we all stay in contact. So family means a lot to me. And I guess the most memorable part of family goes to when my son and also my daughter they came into the world and joined in my clan. I mean, having them as part of my life up through now, I never knew I was going to live as long as I have. You know, I come from a time when I grew up in segregation in a Black community called Colored Town, and it was very difficult. And most of the young people that I grew up with are not alive now. None of us thought we were going to live beyond 20 years old, let alone in my 70s. So to be alive and have my children, my son who's 50, going on 52, you know, and my daughter who's pushing 40 hard, having them in my life is extraordinary for me. I never dreamed that.
You talk about the segregation time. Can you share with us the difference between that time and now? What you feel?
Well, you know, it's again, I've been blessed, even back in the difficult times when, you know, I didn't eat every day of the week, and I never knew where I was going to be, depending on who would take me in at a time for a period of years. What I was always surrounded by was people who were survivors, who, against all odds, shared love and struggled, and always looked out for me in any way they could. And so I never forgot that. So I kept that with me as I began to grow and to have a certain amount of success. I shared that success. I worked with them. I took care of who I could, and so the joy has been, I'm still here, and I'm still connected to a lot of people who I love dearly, and I support when I can. And I don't think about so much what I have accomplished. I think about what I'm able to do with what I've accomplished. You know, the prosperity that I have, what I'm able to do, and how I'm able to share with my clan, and they give back as well. I mean, that to me is what living is all about.
We are proud of you. This is very important. Go through this and think the way you are thinking, open-minded, you know, and your heart is also open. We see it very clear. This is so powerful, you know. I think this is the lesson of life. You know, you need to tell about this. This is how we can, you know, deal with all the every single day. Nowadays, I don't think a lot of people are prepared to live, you know, to go through this. You lived in a world of sacrifice, and then you go through a lot of things, but you are happy and you are powerful. Your life is a lesson of life also. So powerful, and proud of you too.
It has prepared me for some of the things that I've gone through, as well as what we're going through now. These are very difficult times. However,
Yeah.
in difficult times, there are also great opportunities. I think I come from a people who survived the Spanish flu in 1919. I mean, I come from people who survived the Great Depression. I come from people who survived some of the worst conditions put on human beings. Uh, my great great grandfather was a slave. Um, um, so I come from a hard working, a very strong, surviving group of people. As I think Maya Angelou once said, that we were seeds. They planted us thinking they were burying us, and yet we sprouted, and we keep sprouting. And so I don't have under these difficult times, I never face them like a victim. I look at it as surviving and what are the opportunities that I can gain from this particular situation.
This is, once again, this is a lesson of life. You know, when you come through a lot of things, they are preparing for the next day, their next day. And unfortunately, in nowadays, they are not used with, you know, preparing. The people, they are in a rush in everything, you know, they're in a hurry in everything. They don't have time. I think you need to tell your story. You need also, this is the voice we need to listen, you know, and the world need to listen this voice, because going through all of this and going through the other flus, going through a lot of sacrifice and a lot of bad things in your past, but you survive. You know, you are a survivor. You survive and you are happy. You go through all of this. This is what we need to listen by documentary, by conference. You know, this is the team we need to talk about. Very, very open. Why we need to be prepared for the life. Life is a chain of experience. You know, we know this is, they teach us how to live by living. Regarding your roots, your heritage, please tell us and share with us the reflect of them in your life, your roots and your heritage.
I come from a very surviving group of people. I was raised mostly by the female side of my family. My mother, of course, who stayed with me and had me till I was 9. She couldn't afford to keep me after that because we were not doing very well. Her husband at the time was creating a lot of difficulties for our lives. We never had money. We were thrown out of apartment after apartment. We didn't eat often. So she looked at me and she made a sacrifice that right then I didn't understand. It took me a few years to really grasp for what she did for me. And what she did, she had to give me up. She had to make a sacrifice and say, I have to take this kid and give him to someone who can feed him, who can take care of him at this time, because I'm going through a very difficult time. Her husband at that time was a heroin addict. It was just a very difficult time. And so she gave me to my grandmother. And my grandmother was a tough, strong Black woman. She ran a rooming house, sold whiskey illegally, ran the numbers. She was a hustler, and taught me quite a bit about surviving. Taught me a lot about how to protect myself and the way I thought about myself. Not so much physically, but you can protect yourself a lot about the way you think about who you are. If you think you're a victim, you're going to always respond from a role, from a position of being a victim. And so you can't gain much when you think you're a victim, because you're easy to blame, you're easy to accept defeat, you're easy to not give your intuition and your spirit a chance to show itself. And when you're tested, that's when we find out the character of people. Not when they're living well, it's when the test comes. That's when heroes are made and characters tested. And so I had so many growing up, so many tests in my life around, and people around me. And they all got through somehow. Not as well as they would hope, but they all got through somehow. And I took that with me when I became head of a family. I had my son, and I got married, and I went to work. This was right after the civil rights movement. I was very active in the civil rights movement. I was a head of a small organization that was a counter break off from SNCC. I was very angry young black man fighting against the injustices that I saw every day of my life. And then I saw an opportunity. And that opportunity came when I listened to Dr. King speak on August 28, 1963 in the March on Washington. I had walked near him for part of the march until he went up and started his speech. And it changed my life. I hadn't thought of myself with that kind of power that he showed. I had met him earlier, a few years earlier when I was much younger. But
How was your experience?
How was the experience?
Yes.
It was well, the first time I met him, I was 14, and I had gotten in some trouble because I was running with the wrong group of people, and they were trying to decide whether they're going to send me to what we call reform school, a little kiddie prison, because I was a delinquent. I was doing some bad things, and my grandmother saved me. She took me to a preacher at the church that she attended. And she sat me in front of him and said, please speak to my grandson. And the gentleman who I'll never forget, and I love him till this day, he passed away many years ago. And he looked at me and said, so you one of them juvenile delinquents? And I said, no, sir. He said, no. He said, well, you're a tough kid. I said, no, by no means. I was not a tough kid. I just had a lot of nerve. He said, well, I got a job for you. This young man, Dr. King, is coming to our church and 2 Sundays. And I want you to be his bodyguard because I need a tough young kid around him. And he assigned me, and he assigned another young kid who was a very well educated kid. He was about my age, but he comes from a nice family. And it was like putting 2 of the opposites together. So we began to shadow Dr. King that day, all day long while he was at the church. And I had never met anybody like that. I'd never been around anybody. You could feel his power. You could feel he had that word, what is it, gravitas. He had some incredible essence of himself. I was mesmerized. And I didn't really know much about the civil rights movement and what was happening. I just knew we lived in very difficult
What did he say to you? What did he say to you? Did he say something to you?
Oh, no, we were together literally for about 4 hours that day, from morning until he left. And we didn't speak a lot, but we followed him, we shadowed him, we stood on each side of him throughout everything, interviews. So we listened to him, and I listened to him do the interview. I listened to him talk about this thing called the civil rights movement. This is like 1958, 59, something like that, you know? So I'm like, who is this guy? And he was like a rock star. I never seen anybody like that. And the power of his voice, the way he spoke, the words clearly, I mean, just pronounced it. I'd never heard black people speak that way with such power. And it mesmerized me. And so after that was over, I made a little decisions about myself. I wanted to find a little bit about this civil rights thing. I decided to do a little better in school because they were going to kick me out of school. And then I found out who my father was, and I went and I stayed with him because he wanted to try to straighten me out. He was married, wanted to straighten me out. So they adopted me, brought me into their house. I went to school and changed my life. And then when I got out of high school, I graduated in '63, which was the year of the civil rights speeding, really, the changes began to really catch on. And I got involved in the civil rights movement because of Dr. King, and ended up in Washington. And
did you think about, just a question, did you think about, talking, even if it's just a small documentary about this time that you met Dr. King? Did you think about, writing something or having, even if a small documentary, the way you feel, how powerful he was.
Yeah, it's when you were going through it, it was just part of life, and
Of
I
course.
you know
But
I,
now,
now it's part of the history. It's part of the culture of which I've sort of went through. But I met a lot of people like that over my life that I believe in angels. I believe in angels, but not the way that the Hollywood, not running around with wings. I believe that sometimes um, the power of God, the power of this great energy that we all believe in, that faith that we all hopefully carry, will send things to you based on your feeling. Like if you feel that I'm a dreamer,
I
and
agree with you.
if you dream, dreams come true. Maybe not like you dream, but dreams come true. It's a fact. You got to dream. If you don't dream, rarely will a dream come true. So I say that to say that when I go through things in life, especially during my youth, and I would think of a better life, I would think of some sort of dream of something that could change my life. Something would happen. Someone would enter my life, sometimes for just a day or a period of time, and change my whole life completely, change my whole life. And so I look back on that now, and many of them never stayed with me but a brief period. I'm going, they had to be sort of that little angels that come through my life that influence me in a certain way. They come at the time when I need them. That's happened to me over and over and over again.
Share with us the other moment that you have sight another angel in your life that also changed your life.
Yeah, yeah, it is life changing, and you got to go with it. You got to. That's what I'm really trying to get young people in particular, the Z generation in particular, as opposed to, and some millennials that I work with. I'm trying to get them to understand that two things that young people today they just can't carry with them. One is fear. Fear is evil. You just cannot take on fear. It's very debilitating. It will defeat you. Fear is one thing. Not that that you don't get nervous or into a situation where something becomes fearful, but you can't practice fear. You can't let fear be your driving force. And the other thing is victimization. You cannot accept the role of victim. It's no win in that. There's no offense in victimization. There's only surrender. I'm a cancer survivor. And when I found out I had cancer about 15 years ago, I had a choice to make. And I knew that because cancer is evil. I mean, it has but one purpose, to kill you. It doesn't make you ill. It kills you. And the only way that you can is overcome it is to fight it. That's the only option. You surrender to it, you die. You fight, you have a chance to go beyond it. And I chose to fight. And and in that battle, you learn a lot about yourself. I no longer fear death because when you meet the Grim Reaper face to face, you have a little discussion. And I just looked at the Grim Reaper in a sense and said, "Not yet," because we're all going to meet the Grim Reaper. Not yet. You know, I'm going to fight this. And I don't know if you gain any respect from the Grim Reaper, but I just felt he said, "All right, I'll see you later." I said, "Okay, I'll see you later," and I went on my life.
You are so right. The way of thinking, living is so, you are a survivor. What experience, So proud of you. This is, we need to. I'm totally agree with you. I think we should, battle for everything. Don't be, afraid of things. You should, face everything, and should be the determination also should be one of your goals also. If you don't act like this, you're gonna die. If you act like to victim, you're gonna let you down. I think we have a lot of things that is negative thing. We should be very positive. We should, face everything and say, yes, I'm gonna win this.
You know,
Yes.
you got to give yourself a chance. You got to give yourself a chance. Most of us don't give ourselves a chance. When a bad thing happens, you have to give yourself a chance and say, okay, chance, can I survive this? Show me how I'm going to survive. Be instinctive. You have to give yourself a chance. You can survive just about anything that life throws at you if you give yourself a chance. And if you don't survive, go out with some pride and some dignity. Go out fighting.
It's so true. Talking about, wow, my goodness, surviving to a cancer also is something that is, you are a powerful man. Really, really, respect, my respect. Talking about your career, uh, actor, writer, film director, film, producer. What a legacy! What experience! This is something that is an honor when once again to be here. Share with us your experience and let us know what is one of us talking about actor, film director, or film producer. Which one of them are more close to you?
Well, I think the word that defines me most is storyteller. And whatever way that I have an opportunity, either through a characterization as an actor or through producing something that I believe in, a story, or directing it, I enjoy directing the most, but I think that suits whatever talents I have, the best of the talents I have in one word is director. And that's not just in movies or television. It's in directing the situation that you're involved in a lot, or the project that you're working on. I'm best suited for that. But I tell people who are starting out
Why director? Why director?
because I'm as as they used to say, old folks used to say where I come from, jack of all trades, master of none. I'm a jack of all trades. I dabble in a lot of things. I'm an artist, I'm a photographer, I'm a sculptor. I write music. I'm a poet. I do a lot of things. Now, I probably could be better at one of them if I focused on those one things, but that's not who I am because I grew up always on the move.
Let us talk about your new project of television that you are working on at the moment. Tell us a little bit about this project of television, this platform, this legacy. Also, just explain us.
My new project is the launch of a new television network, a streaming service that will be available via the internet around the world. It's called Legacy of a People Network, and its whole purpose is to begin to tell stories that normally are forgotten or overlooked by mainstream media. For the last few years, I've been working with a lot of emerging filmmakers and doing master classes around the world, Nigeria, South Africa, Ethiopia, and of course in Europe and London. And I've met some incredible filmmakers. They're good at their skills and craft, and they all seem to want to have more control over the stories that they tell. And I said, well, let me work with them and put up a network, put up something that they have access to and that the viewers have access to. It's time that the lion gets a chance to speak. And I think the content that I have and what these young people of filmmakers are doing will be exciting, and people will see things that they've talked about and wanted to see over the years. We have a theory, and our theory is that this is not just a network. It is who we are. And I hope that the Legacy of a People Network is seen around the world. Anyway, we're going to start it and see what happens.
The other question that I would like to hear from you, our diaspora, your advice was, how can we attract them to come home to Cabo Verde, to invest in Cabo Verde, to be here as as a tourist, as a visitors, but also to attract our diaspora to invest back in Cabo Verde. It's also invest back in the other countries, but looking to Cabo Verde, knowing Cabo Verde well located, strategically well located, with stability, political and social, free transfer of funds. Also, we have parity with euros. We have all the stability. We have, huge potential, fiscal incentive. Also, we have, nine, four airports, international airports, 9 ports. We have all the conditions that any investors, people that want to invest to visit, we have all these conditions for them. So how can you advise us to attract more people and promote more, give more visibility to Cabo Verde?
When I first went to Cape Verde years ago, I was so impressed with the history, the culture, and the people, the love that they have for their country, and many of them live outside of Cape Verde. I understand there are almost twice as many Cape Verdeans living in America, in the Boston area, Rhode Island, Connecticut, than they are in Cape Verde. In a way, that's understandable, but it's a bit sad because Cape Verde is a country on the move. It's one of the fastest growing democracies in the world in terms of where it started. I mean, remember, this all started in 1975 after Amilcar Cabral fought and gained its freedom from Portugal. And so you have built a country in a very short amount of time, and it's an amazing task. They just left you with no real tools to do anything, and you had to build your own country, and you should take pride in that. And I think if you want young people to come back home and to work, and investors to take their monies that they've made in other countries as the diaspora there, to come back and support, you got to start telling your story. Think of people like moths. What draws a moth is bright light, and through the internet and through other things now, we all have the ability to tell stories in a way that we never had before. So, like Ethiopia, I've been telling them the same thing. Tell your story. Don't wait for the BBC or anybody else to come in and talk about what you've done. You need to tell your story. And if you tell your story and you tell it with the enthusiasm and the passion and the music that is so rich in your culture, they will come back. Who doesn't want to belong to something? African Americans are always reaching to Africa, either in their outfits. They don't want to go there, although but they're always looking to say, I'm an African American. Well, put your money and your passion, where your words are. I go back to Africa, and I can see myself in a short amount of time having a second home or living there in a permanent way. There's so much happening in Africa, and Cape Verde is again the jewel of the African change. It's time for the members of the diaspora to look back home. You're going to find some exciting things.
You know that you are a very close friend of Mendes Brothers, our music, our artists. Cabo Verde has one of the best music of all the world. We have musician artists. Our music is something that is special. Being the friend of them, your advice or some words to Cabo Verde, to your closing remark and the message that you can send, give us.
I love Cabo Verde. I was introduced to Cabo Verde through my association and new friendship that I had with the Mendes brothers, musical geniuses who, of course, are from Cape Verde, Fogo to be exact. And they convinced me one time. We were talking, and they were helping me with some music in America. And they said, "You need to come to our country." And, I love to travel. I said, "Oh, next time you go, let me know." Literally 2 weeks later, they called and said, "We're going. Come on." And I did. And I went over, and I fell in love the first night. I was in the Setavaria, and I was in a small hotel there, and all of a sudden, music began to happen. And someone brought me a drum, and I'm beating the drum, and I had this emotional experience that was wonderful. It was like I'm home. I mean, the sound of the music and where I was touched me very deeply, and I kept going. I kept shooting there, doing documentaries, and through the Mendes brothers, I was introduced to a place that I adore. San Vicente, Fogo, the history of Fogo, and going to the crater, And I've taken people over to shoot there, and they're all amazed at this wonderful discovery for some of us. But that's how I found Cape Verde, and it always has and will have a place in my heart. I love the country. I love the people. I love, these are survivors. These are people who, again, in a very short amount of time, have built a democracy. And I hope to get back soon. As soon as they lift this travel crap, I will be there and spend some time and seeing some of my friends.
We are 500,000. We have more. The diaspora is 1 million. It's double than we are here. It's so true. We are a country of musicians, a country of the dynamic, the rhythmics. So this is so important. We want also you to promote with us our lovely country, as you love Cabo Verde. We do. We have this in common. You, me, and Maria, so Borges, and Mendes brother, all of us. I think we should do how we can work together, to promote more, to give more visibility to Cabo Verde. So thank you for love our country. Thank you, for feeling interested for our culture. I think we're gonna do more together. But also, it's a pleasure having you with us. All this message, what you share with us is brilliant. It's something that is so special. And we want the world to listen to your story. See you soon in Cabo Verde. All the best for you also. I don't know if you want to tell something or another message. You are a special person. Your life and your voice counts, You have a legacy. Thank you, Team REID.
Passarinha, disse eu de fogo, conhece nada, só pancrebiu. Passarinha, disse eu de fogo, conhece indivíduos, a correção na boa. Oh, malsantinha lena, minha vida vira, mo mar de mere, ora baixo, ora massa. Santinha Helena, minha vida fica, minha vida coitada.